Hey everyone, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to show you 4 ideal starting points for the ACD Unlimited Darwin FTW bass drum pedals. Now, when we talk about starting points, I'm actually talking about suggested setup kind of settings. With these or any other pedals, I would definitely recommend you take time to learn what each setting does and experiment to find what you do like and, more importantly, what you don't like in how your pedal feels. This is going to be 4 good starting points that you can then either use or adjust and tweak from there. Now, just a quick note about the beta adjustment through these videos. I am using the heavyweight and the regular surfaces from the dynamic beaters. Now, you might not have both, and if you don't, that's okay, because you can use the included removable beater weight that comes with your dynamic beaters. The reason I'm not doing it that way is because my personal preference is to have the dynamic beater without the weight. I like a really light feeling pedal. So if I want a heavier feel, I tend to go for the heavyweight surface instead of adding the beater weight. Now, the 4 setups that we're going to look at in this video are light and effortless, heavy and powerful, lightning fast and responsive, and then the 4th one is my personal settings, which is very much an all-rounder. It will let you cover pretty much everything that those other 3 will, but from the same setting. So let's have a look at the light and effortless pedal. Now, this setting is really designed for finesse. It's for people that like almost no spring tension at all, and they want the pedal to just be effortless to play. Now, for the lightweight and effortless feel with the direct drive, we've started off with the spring tension. I've actually got it as loose as it goes before there's any kind of floppiness within the spring. That means it's going to take no effort at all to play, but it's still going to be nice and responsive due to the spring geometry of this pedal. The next thing to have a look at is the beater. I've got the lightweight beater head on here so that we don't feel like we're carrying around any extra weight. And the beater angle is on the 2nd notch back from the last one. So we're still playing with a good amount of beater throw. That means if you're playing with your heel down, you can rest your feet on the pedals without feeling like the beater's suddenly going to end up at the drum. But it's still light enough that it's very easy to play in that way. Now, in terms of the cam, this is where it gets interesting. I've got it angled down just a fraction, but I've also got it fully open. Along with that, I've pushed the bottom of the direct drive link all the way forward towards the toe end of the foot plate. Now, this is not to create an eccentric feeling cam. That's why I've got it angled down slightly, and why I've also kept the bottom of the direct drive link level with the top. What this does do is create an oversized cam type of feel. Now, the footboard angle is set at roughly halfway, so maybe slightly under halfway within the direct drive link. Now, with the cam angling forwards, it's a very middle of the road type of setting. So this is just to give us a nice enough angle that we can comfortably play heel up or heel down, good amount of response, but not adding any weight. Now, the heavy and powerful feel with a direct drive is a slightly odd one, because direct drives naturally have a little bit less power than something like a strap or a chain drive. But the direct drives on these pedals actually feel slightly heavier than a standard direct drive does. It's kind of a nice compromise. It means that you can dial it in for absolute lightness because it's a light feeling pedal, but you can also dial it in with a bit more punch and power than you could normally get out of a standard direct drive. I've got the heavyweight beater surface on here, and I've pulled the beater right back to the last notch. Again, you can go beyond that if you want to, but this is where I've left it for this setting. It's going to feel very top heavy and land with a huge amount of impact, really like you are launching it into the drum. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're adjusting the cam on the direct drive on these pedals is that obviously if we open and close the cam, that's going to be like the VDO on an axis where you're pushing it forwards or pulling it back. But we can also adjust the angle of the cam here, and it's not just either going to raise or lower it. As we raise it, it's going to be bringing it further in towards the center of the pedal. So we're going to add to that kind of VDO aspect of this. So what I've done is raised it up slightly, which already pulls it backwards, and then I've closed up the cam. In terms of footboard height for this setting, I like the direct drive link set maybe slightly under halfway. That gives me a decent amount of play on the pedal so that I feel like I can stamp on it, but it also takes off some of the weight so that I feel like it's easy enough to play. If you want a more extreme feel with this, by all means close up that direct drive link. It's going to help to add more of an extreme angle on the footboard, which is going to add some weight but responsiveness. It's going to really help you almost create more of that old school chain drive pedal type of feel. Now the spring tension on here is set to about halfway with the regular springs. Now that's not going to give you a massive amount of tension on your foot when you're trying to play the stroke. It's going to feel quite easy, but we've already got weight from the beater and things like that we have to kind of work against. But by the time we get to the drum, because it's having to travel all that extra way, we're going to end up with a very cranked up spring. So it's going to land with a ton of punch and power, but it's going to whip back straight away ready for the next note. Now in order to create the lightning fast and responsive feel with the direct drive, I've got the beater move forward so that it's level with the third notch. Now remember, you can go to more extremes, you can move it closer than that, and that gives me a reduced distance to the bass drum, which means I'm going to get there quicker, which means it's going to take less effort to play quickly repeatedly. As well as that, we've got the light beater head on here. You will sacrifice some punch and power, but keep in mind that the majority of people that are playing with this kind of setting that want to go up to sort of 250 BPM and maybe higher are probably playing with triggers anyway, just for clarity at that speed. And these pedals are actually available with an on trigger system when you buy them if you want. Now with that beater being closer and with us wanting to kind of go insanely quickly, we need to crank this spring up. So I've put the heavyweight spring on here, and you can see it's not super cranked, it's about halfway, but with the heavyweight spring, that's a significant amount of spring tension. That's going to make the pedal really stick to the underneath of your foot and whip back very quickly, encouraging you to play that next note even sooner. In terms of the cam, this is where I differ from the direct drive version here to the strap drive. I've actually got the cam all the way open. Forget the markings, this is as far as I can open the cam up. So it's a lighter feel because we're going with a bigger cam. So in order to do that, not only do I have the split cam all the way open, but I've put the bottom of the direct drive all the way forward towards the toe end of the foot plate. This is going to give us a very oversized, very light feeling stroke, but it's still going to be slightly eccentric because of the cam angle and the fact that the cam is fully open. Now to compensate for that, I've done the footboard height adjustment within the direct drive link itself. You can see that I've got it set just over the halfway point. That's to give a slightly flatter kind of footboard angle, which will add to the lightness, which is going to help with the speed. Okay, so this is my personal settings for the direct drive. Now, again, it's my personal setting. It might not work for you, and by all means, try it out and then tweak it if you think it needs fine tuning, or just change it completely and find your perfect setting. I've got the cam opened pretty much all the way, not quite, but the markings on the top of the cam line up with the last two markings on the bottom. I've also got the bottom of the direct drive over halfway towards the heel end of the foot plate. Now this creates a bit of an angle within the drive, which is going to make it feel a bit more of an eccentric cam, a little bit like, if we go with that axis analogy again, a little bit like the VDL pushed all the way forwards, or nearly all the way forwards. In terms of footboard height, I've closed it up a little bit, so it's around the halfway point, but that doesn't just raise the footboard up, but with this angle on the direct drive, it actually accents that angle a little bit more, so again, makes it very kind of springy and fast to play. Now I've actually got my beater set slightly closer towards the drum on my direct drive settings than I would have on my strap drive settings. And that's because obviously the more the angle on the direct drive link itself changes, the more different the pedal is going to feel throughout the stroke, and I don't want it to feel massively different. As well as that, we've got the light beater head on here. Now because I've got the beater slightly closer to the drum than I usually have, I've also cranked the spring up a little bit more than I normally do. So if you have a look here, this is the regular light spring, but cranked up over the halfway point. That kind of, for me, it's really to counteract the fact that the beater isn't as far back. So I've gone for almost a hint of that kind of cranked up spring, beater further forward type of feel with this. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed the video at all, please like it, consider subscribing and hit the bell icon so you're told when I upload again. If you've got any comments on the video or anything you'd like to see in future videos, please leave me a comment down below and I'll see you soon.